Christians at Pride have asked me to speak to you about my late husband, the Reverend Mervyn Kingston. I met Mervyn in Belfast in 1989. I was a 24-year-old student from the south of Ireland, Marxist and a lapsed Catholic. He was a 40-year-old from East Belfast, a Protestant clergyman serving in the Anglican Church of Ireland. We were an unlikely love match in Northern Ireland in the late 1980s. Today I want to tell you something about Mervyn's life as a gay Christian activist. Shortly after we started dating, Mervyn asked me, "Would you like to come with me to a meeting of the Gay Christian Fellowship?" My immediate response was to say to him, "That sounds very Protestant." Within 3 months of meeting him, I joined Mervyn at a weekend retreat he had organised for gay Christians, Protestant and Catholic, at the Corramila Centre in Ballycastle. Mervyn had joined the Gay Christian Fellowship in 1980 and became its secretary. After he died, I discovered among his papers records of his early activism for LGBT Christians. Here is a letter from 1982 which Mervyn received from a gay Christian affirming church in London in response to his query about same-sex blessings. 24th of February 1982. Dear Mervyn, I am enclosing a copy of a service of blessing which we use here. I hope it will be of some help. We ask that the couple have been together for a minimum period of 6 months and that they're both practicing Christians. The letter is signed by the Reverend Jean White of the Metropolitan Community Church in London. Yes, you'd heard right. As far back as 1982, even before homosexuality was partially decriminalised in Northern Ireland, Mervyn, then a clergyman at Down Cathedral, was conducting same-sex blessings. This was 38 years before religious wedding ceremonies for same-sex couples were legalised in 2020 in Northern Ireland. Mervyn conducted many blessings for same-sex couples over the years, but in 2004 we had our own relationship blessed by a Church of Ireland clergyman. The blessing had to be done discreetly in our local parish church. We took a photo that day, a photo which I've never shown in public until now. Here is that photo of Mervyn and me and some of our friends on the day of the blessing of our relationship. Mervyn served as a Church of Ireland clergyman in Comber, Bloomfield, Downpatrick in County Down, as well as parishes as diverse as Glencairn in Loyalist West Belfast and in Cregan in Republican South Armagh. My observation is that he was a caring pastor, an intelligent preacher, a gifted choir leader, and an exceptional fundraiser. His bishop knew he was gay, which may explain why he was destined to remain a lowly clergyman in a field of ambitious clerics. This was in the days of the Church's practice of don't ask, don't tell. But Mervyn was honest and a person of integrity. He told the Church that we had entered into a civil partnership. I remember the morning in October 2007 when Mervyn and I were home in County Down. I heard the sound of the post flopping on the floor inside our front door, so I went to collect it and handed the letter to Mervyn. This letter, on the front of the envelope, I recognised the crest of a bishop. The letter was from the Bishop of Down to my Mervyn. 19th of October 2007. Dear Mervyn, I think you will understand that the permission to officiate to someone who has contracted a civil partnership would be problematic, as my judgment is that it would cause offence to a significant number of members of the Church of Ireland in the Diocese of Down and Dromore. I would therefore not be in a position to offer such permission to you. Yours sincerely in Christ, Bishop Harold, Down and Dromore. The bishop had denied Mervyn permission to celebrate Holy Communion or act as a clergyman. This was a source of pain to Mervyn in the final years of his life until his early death aged 65. In 2007, Mervyn and I co-founded a Church of Ireland pro-LGBT organisation called Changing Attitude Ireland. Despite his terminal cancer diagnosis, Mervyn and I attended every General Synod of the Church of Ireland and countless meetings to educate his fellow clergy and lay people about LGBT lives and to challenge homophobia and transphobia. I watched as he was shunned by conservatives who disapproved of his affirmation of LGBT and avoided by liberals who lacked the courage to be publicly associated with us. Yet Mervyn never flinched despite verbal assaults and even written death threats received from fellow Christians. It helps me to recall some of my positive memories of Mervyn's ministry to LGBT persons. Mervyn and I organised in 2008 the first participation of a Christian group at Belfast Pride. Mervyn wasn't well enough that day to walk in the parade, and so doesn't appear in the photos. Instead, he manned the Changing Attitude Ireland stall. However, he was well enough to march at Belfast Pride 2010. Here he is in a photo holding the banner of Changing Attitude Ireland. He's pictured while looking lovingly in my direction. The theme of this year's Belfast Pride is Rainbow Heroes. Mervyn, the Reverend Mervyn Kingston, on the eve of the legislation of religious wedding ceremonies for same-sex couples, we remember you at this year's Belfast Pride as one of its gay Christian rainbow heroes.